Picture a bright green hillside next to a sparkling lake. Thousands of people have gathered here, covering the grass in a massive, colorful crowd. Somewhere in that crowd is a 10-year-old boy named Eli, walking with his mother, Miriam. Eli is carrying a small cloth bag, and inside is his lunch, exactly 5 small loaves of bread and 2 fish. The crowd is totally captivated. Jesus sits among them, teaching about kindness, forgiveness, and serving others. The people listen for hours, completely absorbed in the stories. That collective focus acts as a buffer. The joy of the gathering masks the slow creep of the sun across the sky. They are so engaged that no one notices the approaching reality. Thousands of human bodies are slowly running out of fuel. As evening sets in, the atmosphere shifts. Children look tired, stomachs begin to rumble. Parents search their baskets, only to realize their food is gone. Nearby, the disciples recognize the incoming logistical nightmare. They are looking at a massive, exhausted population, stranded miles from any market, with absolutely zero supply lines. Let's break down the math Peter is staring at. On one side, over 5,000 hungry people. On the other side, 0 resources. The deficit is staggering. But instead of sending the crowd away to forage, Jesus gives his panicked disciples a directive. Give them something to eat. The disciples freeze. This is the scarcity trap in action. When human logic runs into a mathematically impossible deficit, the result is psychological paralysis. The numbers don't add up, so constructive action stops entirely. Peter wades through the anxious crowd, desperately scanning for any hidden food reserves. He notices Eli holding his little lunch bag. Looking inside, he finds this precise inventory: 5 rustic loaves of bread and 2 small fish. Eli's own stomach is growling. Given the overwhelming scale of the hungry adults around him, basic self-preservation dictates he should quietly eat his food or hide the bag. But Eli thinks back to the words he heard earlier that afternoon. The greatest among them is the one who serves others. He overrides his own instinct to hoard the meal. He smiles and offers his entire bag to Peter. In a setting defined by strict deficits, giving away your last calorie defies all logic. Yet it is exactly this willing sacrifice that breaks the paralysis of the scarcity trap. Peter brings the tiny meal to Jesus. Around them, people watch with skepticism, whispering that this handful of food is barely enough to feed one family. Jesus doesn't share their anxiety over the math. He takes the small meal, looks up toward heaven, and simply gives thanks. This geometric node graph illustrates the event. Starting from a single point, Eli's lunch, the resource doesn't deplete as it's broken. It replicates into dozens of nodes. The sequence accelerates, exponentially expanding as disciples distribute the food, entirely bypassing the laws of supply and demand. The mood on the hillside flips. The creeping anxiety is replaced by laughter and amazement as families eat until every single person is fully satisfied. When limited resources are placed into a framework of infinite generosity, they bypass traditional constraints to create a boundless output. The sun finally sets in oranges and pinks, washing over a completely calm, joyful crowd. To prove the deficit has been entirely erased, the disciples gather the leftovers. From an initial starting point of just 5 small loaves, they collect exactly 12 full baskets of surplus food. Amidst the celebration, Jesus walks over and sits beside Eli. He looks at the boy and personally thanks him for sharing his meal. Eli admits his lunch was small. But as Jesus smiles back, it is clear that the starting volume of a gift matters much less than the heart that releases it. As the stars appear, Eli and Miriam walk home. Their stomachs are full, and they carry a sense of hope down the dusty path. It is easy to look at the massive scale of the problems in our world today and feel exactly like the disciples did, completely paralyzed by the math. But Eli didn't try to solve the macro problem. He just offered his localized, selfless action. That willingness to share acts as an exponential multiplier. It replaces the logic of scarcity with a tangible, shared abundance. The equation relies on the input of an open heart. No act of loving service, no matter how mathematically insignificant it might seem on paper, is ever too small to trigger a massive impact.